Hi, welcome to the channel. My name's Ryan. I'm super excited to share this with you today because my goal is for you to take something away from this video and use it to build on your own work. I hope I could see your work one day on YouTube and get inspired to create something better. Then you do the same, and the cycle continues until one day Marvel is calling us to do the next Avengers movie with our GoPros. Perhaps that's a stretch, but you get the idea. If you're like me, your first GoPro footage looked something like this on the left. This shot around the Washington Monument's not bad, it's just not good. Here's the footage straight out of the camera. I'm sorry you had to listen to that, the wind noise is terrible. Tip number 1 is to focus on audio. If you have to, you can try to attach a windscreen like a dead cat or a foam shield to your camera. Your camera might have a wind noise reduction function too. Here it is on the Insta360 1R. The airflow you create by riding is almost always going to make audio a challenge, so I favor ditching the camera's audio entirely. On a side note, I'm editing in Final Cut Pro 10 today, but nothing we talk about is specific to that. Okay, so here we go without the audio. It's better, but the silence is weird, so we'll add in some sound design, which is tip number 2. Add ambient noise and some foley sounds to make things feel more natural. Here, I'm adding in a wind noise, ironically, and that's because there's some flags flying on screen. I've also added in the sounds of traffic and a bike coasting. And this again is to make things feel a little bit more natural. Oh good, so this sounds great. But this video is taking forever. Tip number 3 is to pace things for the audience. Here, I'm adding a speed ramp to move the action along. I also added a whoosh sound to let your ears feel the speed ramp. This seems better now. It's still pretty long and we'll take care of that in a moment. But first I want to set the mood like I'm on an upbeat ride. Tip number 4 is to set the scene with some music. Okay, this is good, I'm liking it. But I feel like we can push the image a little further. Tip number 5 is to not be afraid of color grading and effects. Here, I've created a little more contrast by pulling down the shadows and the midtones while lifting the highlights. I've also boosted the saturation to make it feel a little richer. Lastly, I added a subtle touch of film grain to make it seem less homemade. The key to most post-visual touch-up is to be subtle. Okay, time for tip number 6, and you're not going to like this because I'm going to suggest you buy a new camera. Tip number 6 is to make your shots dynamic. What do I mean by dynamic? I mean the camera position or angle should change. Even though a camera is mounted to a moving bicycle, the point of view gets stale quickly. You can achieve dynamic movements by either moving the camera or buying a camera that shoots in 360 degrees, then changing the field of view in post-production. Here is the same footage again with some up-tempo music, more speed ramps, and the orientation of the camera is keyframed to fake pans and tilts. Tip number 7 is to give yourself a fighting chance with light. Start off by shooting in log or logarithmic mode, or what GoPro calls ProTune. This is going to produce a flat looking image, but that's okay because it allows you to pull more detail out of the shadows in post-production. This is not like going full manual with your camera. You should leave the white balance and the ISO on auto because you don't have time to adjust these as you're flying down a hill. Part 2 of tip number 7 is to use an ND filter if the light is bright. ND or neutral density filters are like sunglasses for your camera. The last part of tip number 7 is to try to film an hour or two just after sunrise or before sunset. I reshot the scene that we've been looking at over and over again today, but I did it an hour after sunrise and I shot it in log mode. Ah, yeah, that's so much better. I wish I'd used an ND filter, but other than that, that's pretty good. This is a side-by-side comparison of what we've done today. Tip number 8 is to shoot from different angles. Mount your camera to different things. A variety of shots will keep your audience engaged. Most people are accustomed to what movies or TV provide, which is somewhere between 3 to 6 different angles for each scene. You don't need to slap 6 cameras on your bike, but your audience is subconsciously expecting an angle change in an action sequence every few seconds. Here it is, one last time, with an additional shot to illustrate another fun angle to shoot from. Well, that's it. If you found this helpful, please consider subscribing to the channel. And as of right now, this channel has 0 subscribers. So if you're the very first one, Please drop a comment below and let me know who you are. If you're feeling generous today, slap the like button, and I'll see you on the road.